And so that's kind of where we were. I mean, we really hit the wall, okay? And I think that we really hit the wall hard.
Okay.
And it was our institutions, it was our government, it was our households. You know, we were really shaken down to the core, and there were a lot of lessons to be learned. And you know, of course, if you don't look at where we've been, you're just going to get right back to it once again a lot faster. Because as we talk, there's a possibility that with technology, these cycles may come faster.
Mm-hmm.
And what we don't know is whether they're going to be softer landings or are we going to get more dramatic swings.
Well, especially since we're now a global community, now other countries and affect us that much quicker and that much easier.
Sure.
Even if we have our ducks in a row, somebody else could definitely affect us.
Yeah, I don't think you can ignore what's happening in Europe. And Europe is in a depression. You know, is in a depressionary cycle. Japan's never gotten out of it. China has a growing middle class that's demanding more and more services and higher prices. And you know, that's kind of where we're going. You know, this is the reality of where we're going. Or where we are now, and I think that's really important to understand. As you said, that we are part of a global socioeconomic community.
So that was Lou Esbin talking about a global socioeconomic community. I like that. I'm going to write that on the back of my hand so I don't forget. And it is critical that it's something that's never happened before. So we don't know what to expect going forward, but we can take some lessons from history.
That's right.
What's interesting is I'm listening to what, you know, I know people have a poor memory. People forget what happened.
Quickly.
Very quickly. You know, in fact, my wife was blessed with that talent as a woman, so she forgot what giving birth was.
I'm not going there.
No, I am. She forgot what giving birth was 3 times, so we've now had 3 kids and still considering a 4th.
He bailed himself on that one.
Saying, I'm going to wish my wife a happy anniversary for tomorrow.
He's digging himself in a hole, and you're looking for a good night tomorrow night.
We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We're okay.
Well, we're at 26. So
wow,
but you might have to wait another 10 years after that, Gino.
So no, but you know, the other thing is that the new generation that becomes the middle class, the children of the middle class, they didn't see what happened. Maybe they saw it in their household with their parents, but maybe not.
Right.
Maybe their parents were unaffected. So it's important that they learn these history lessons by listening to shows like this,
right,
or by reading books or things of that nature.
Books.
Sorry. Did I go back in time on that?
Again.
Yeah, I know. I like the Kindle, but I just can't quite get into it. I guess I'm gonna have to get one of these phablets. That's the new word, right? I'm good with my phone, but I need a phablet. It's gonna be like a 6-inch size phone or whatever. Anyways.
Anyways, I'm like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about where we have been. So, Lou, why don't you break down a little bit of where we've been?
Well, let's talk about our community where we've been.
Okay.
This was a community that grew very rapidly in the 1990s. You know, as we said, today's the 19th anniversary of the earthquake. You know, from 1994 to 2007, this community exploded.
Yep.
You know, thousands of housing units built, tens of thousands of people came into not only the city, but its environs, and we grew.
Well, we had new schools, new homes,
new shopping.
New shopping.
New.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And a lot of it was built upon debt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This community, you have some older families with older money, but it was a lot of younger families with new money, and with it came the expectations of a better life, but that was made with debt. So I would say that we were a community that had maybe some false affluence because it was based upon leveraging, and I think we've kind of realized that was something that happened, and we shouldn't be doing that again.
Well, and that's a key theme. If you're just listening, we're listening to Lou Esbin, our debt doctor with Esbin Law, and he's sharing with what we kind of went through. And unfortunately, like you said, we've just went through it, but a lot of people didn't learn from the 90s.
No,
this happened in the 90s
this
as
happened
well.
in the 90s.
Not as extreme.
That's right.
But it did happen, and that's why we're sharing this with you today. If you're listening, or if you've already gone through it, you understand it, make sure you share it with your kids.
You know, because in the 90s, you know, in 1998, there were more bankruptcies filed in 1998 than in the peak of this Great Recession.
Really?
Yes.
That's a piece of information I didn't know.
It's a really, it's not something that's, because everyone thinks, oh, there were all these bankruptcies. Well, what you had is you had larger bankruptcy cases.
Right.
You had more money that was being discharged, more money that was at risk than you had back in the 90s. But you actually had fewer filings.
Wow, that is a really interesting piece of information.
It really is.
Okay, so
okay, so we covered pretty much a good idea of where we were, why we were there. Who needs to listen? Because I think it's important, because you guys keep talking about the 90s. I have a vague recollection of the 90s, and I form part of the middle class today.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but it's true.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm one of those young families that came to this community. So I feel like I'm part of this exact thing that has happened to our community. And I know that it was quite painful, actually, to believe that the home I bought in 2007 was really painful, because everything that was built in Tesoro, which is where I live, was built in 04, 05, 06. That means everybody who bought in there was affected. Every
Correct.
single family that bought in Tesoro was affected in some way, shape, or form by negative equity.
I think that those people who should be hearing this are everybody and anybody. I don't think you can limit
point.
it. I mean, I did a show with I think it was a senior hour, and they never thought that they should be considering these things. But the seniors need to consider it, because they're on a fixed income, and many of them have gone through this multiple times, so they shouldn't forget. The kids who are in high school or college they should be hearing this, because they shouldn't be making the same mistake, although they will.
It's almost inevitable.
It's human nature, and
then-
especially American nature.
And then those of us who are working and we've got families, we should be paying attention to what's happened, because we don't want to put our families and our businesses in that risk again.
Okay, that's a key point. So we really want you to stay tuned and pay attention, because what we just talked about basically the calamities we've all gone through. Somehow it's affected us, a family member, co-worker, somebody you know, or you and me and Gino. I know it's affected us. So what we want to do is now go through the 4 rules that everyone needs to know. And you need to listen to this and share this with your kids, with your grandkids, with your grandparents. It's all stuff we all need to know, and some rules a lot of us forgot. When we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. We'll be right back.